Welcome in. This is your Jock Market Power Hour for this week's U.S. Open. I'm Rick Gaiman, that right there, Joe Idoni. Joe, this could be maybe the biggest power hour ever.
I think we're going for it, man. U.S. Open, Torrey Pines. We're here. We've been looking forward to this for a long time. We've finally arrived. It feels like more and more people are becoming hip to the jock market. So ready to roll tonight, buddy.
Yeah, there are a lot of incentives this week, some new ones, which we are going to talk through in just a second. But if you are new, if you've stumbled in here, if you have no idea what's going on, it's Stock Market DFS. On the Jock Market, download the app, use the code POWER to get you a $50 deposit bonus. And the phase that we're in right now, IPO, initial player offering, you can bid on shares of golfers. And at 9 o'clock, maybe a few minutes before, Joe, if you're the high bidder for those shares are going to be allocated to you. And then that's when it just gets started. You can buy and sell during the tournament all 4 days with guaranteed payouts for each finishing position in terms of share price.
Yeah, ton of fun. So it's kind of like this is sort of phase one, right? So if you're bidding on shares now, make sure that you put in a price that you're sort of comfortable with. You will see that price steadily tick up all the way until about 9 o'clock, in which case when the IPO closes, if you're left with the highest bid, the winning shares will be awarded to that player. And then, like you said, phase two is sort of totally different, where you can then sell those shares at any time. You will constantly see the bid price on those players, and you can see the ask price for other guys. So you can add to your portfolio, you can get rid of it, but this thing moves and is fluid throughout all 72 holes.
I say this is the biggest cash market ever, the biggest power hour ever, because not only is it a major championship, not only is everybody excited for the U.S. Open at Torrey Pines, but there's a lot of money for us to give away. I already mentioned the fact that if you deposit with the code POWER, it is a 100% match up to $50. We've got that offer. The other offer that we have is we're giving away $100 in Jock Bucks. That's where we just credit your account with money on Jock Market. The only way to enter, the easiest way to enter, is to drop your Jock Market username in the chat. We will draw those as the night goes on. And Joe, there's actually another opportunity to win free cash on top of that, because a couple of hours ago we got an email from the team over at Jock Market and said there is going to be a prize, essentially an in-game trading prize. And I can read through the details, but the idea of it, Joe, is to entice people to trade during the event, to make the market a bit more liquid. It increases and improves the experience for everybody.
100%. So I believe how it works is every time that you make a trade during the live event, whether you are purchasing shares or selling shares, each one of those that you make will get you one raffle ticket. They are going to enter you into that raffle. They're going to pick 5 different people and they're going to give them each $100. So every trade that you make gets you another ticket and another entry into there. Look, these people love us, man. We keep feeding the Jock Market. We keep feeding you animals with content every Wednesday, and they're rewarding us.
So here you go. So here's the fine print. Joe basically nailed it. Every live trade, whether it is a buy or a sell over $10, gets you a raffle ticket. If you do that 5 times, you can get the max 5 raffle tickets. And then on Sunday, they will randomly choose 5 winners to receive $100 each. And winners will be announced on Monday. So it is quite an opportunity. So if you put all of that together, you could literally walk out of here with $170 in free money.
If it's your first time, absolutely. What's better than that? And it's no strings attached. Like we talked about this before. There's no rollover bonus or any of that bullshit. Like it's money that goes right into your account that you can purchase shares with immediately, withdraw easily. You don't have to do it through Bitcoin or some sketchy Costa Rican check. This is real money. It goes right into your account and build with it.
If you want to kind of get an idea of how this is going to look on Sunday evening, we can indeed look back at last week's results. So here's the Palmetto Championship, Joe. Garrick Higo, This time last week sold for $5.50 a share. And when the dust settled on Sunday evening, he was your winner, which pays out the full $25 a share, which means if you had one share of Garrick Higo, you made $19.50 on that. If you had 10 shares, you made $195 on that. So him along with Terrell Hatton paid out. Pat Hatton went from $9.17 to $20. Doc Redmond, $4.98 to $18. Johnny Vegas, $5 to $16. Plenty of money to be made from these IPOs at all different tiers.
Absolutely, yeah. So we see Hatton up there. I think last week sort of illustrates where a lot of the value that we've seen comes in the jock market, and it's sort of that $6 to $2 range, right? You had Higo, you had Doc, you had Vegas, and then in that $2 range, you had Cheston, Swafford, Bo Van Pelt, Ryan Armour. Like these guys, you can just sort of take your pick of these guys at the low price points. And what's great about it is, Rick, that if they miss the cut and they play terrible and they finish dead last, their stock price goes down to $1 and you basically lose $1 a share. But the upside is there. I see my guy Austin here in the chat. He had 66 shares. I think he tweeted me last week at Chesson Hadley. So a huge day for him, even though Chesson folded, right? He blew that in any other circumstance in the outright market, but still had a huge week for him. So a ton of fun. You don't have to win to turn a profit. And we see once again that sort of value range is really the low price guys.
It really is. And while we're taking things from the chat here, and feel free, throw whatever you want in the chat. I can see them all. We can see them. So I'll bring them up if you have a good question. So Kyle says, this is his first go at Jock Market this week, Joe. And he's kind of, I think, in asking, do most people wait until the end of the IPO phase, which we've seen, but also know it's kind of random on when this closes, that 90-second period between about 8:57 and 8:59.
Absolutely. First, Kyle, welcome. Welcome to the community. Second, yeah, I think that's kind of the idea, but there's a certain amount of risk involved when you do that, where the IPO, you could have an early close. You could just not be able to get enough shares of enough different players. Like if you wait until the very end, you got to have quick fingers if you want to take 5 to 7 guys, because it all happens so fast. You'll see sort of the last 5 minutes, these prices drastically increase for some players very quickly because a lot of people sort of have that same idea. So what I usually recommend is putting in a couple now and then monitoring it as it goes. And as they get closer and closer toward your target price, you may want to up it a little bit. But if there's a certain guy that you kind of want to wait on, I don't mind that either, and kind of holding out for the last 5 minutes there.
Joe just nailed the strategy of it, which I 100% agree with, but also keep in mind logistically, the way the app works is if you want to go out and bid $3 or $4 or $5 over the price of a golfer right now, it's not going to immediately raise the price to your bid. It's only going to bid 1 cent higher than the current price. And if someone bids higher, it'll incrementally raise your bid until it reaches your maximum. So you can feel free to fire a bid that is $1 or $2 higher than what you're currently seeing right now. What I'm currently seeing in the market right now is a lot of people loving some of the big boys at the US Open. I'm not ready to reveal the big board yet, Joe, but it's time to turn our attention to Torrey Pines, the US Open, an unbelievable venue, of course, an unbelievable field, and so many big names at the top coming in. I think a lot of them, I think there's question marks, but I think a lot of them are coming in pretty decent form.
100%. Yeah, you can make a case for just about anybody seemingly at the top. So it'll be interesting. We've seen a lot of love on certain players in the jock market as we've been doing this for almost a year now. So we've seen, it's kind of where the popularity stands within the community, and that's usually what ultimately determines the price. But yeah, a ton of guys up there. You can make the case for a number of players. I think a lot of guys set up really nicely this week for Torrey Pines.
I do want to reference this comment here because I think this is a very good comment, and it's almost the end of a long week for me. So there's a comment here about only a 420% markup on Chesson Hadley, referring to the fact that his odds were much longer in the sports book, and maybe betting him as a top 10, maybe a top 5, something like that, would have paid a lot more. Yeah, but a sports book wouldn't have paid out a profit if Chesson Hadley finished 35th. or 34th or 42nd, like he's going to do a lot of the time. It's just different, guys. It's different. You're getting the upside all along the way. You're not getting as much of the downside. These are things that are not being offered by sportsbooks. So the strategy is different.
100%. Yeah. Simple enough. Yeah. You summed that up nicely. Very different.
Very different. So, as you start to assess the top of the board, the big boys, Rahm, Bryson, Brooks, okay, we're going to have to determine what the right price is on those golfers. I know you've already done it. You have already, at this point, assigned a fair value price to every single player in the field. Tell the people how you're essentially getting to that number that's comfortable for you.
Sure. So what I usually do will take those projected rankings and then I'll ultimately adjust them based and kind of formulate my own rankings and then see where that number projects out. So it kind of creates a target price for me. For instance, those projected rankings, there's a couple of guys in the 20s like Brooks and Rory, for instance, are like 24th and 26th this week. I don't think they're 24th or 26th on anybody's board this week. So you adjust those accordingly and you create sort of a new fair value target price for them and assign it to the players. And typically, I have my guys sort of highlighted here that I'm interested in, but if someone is under that price, I consider it a buy once they clear that price. For most guys, if it's not someone that I really like, I tend to just cross them off and sort of disregard it. So that's kind of how I go about it.
All right, let's give away some money and then I'll reveal the big board. Our first $20 in Jock Bucks is going to go to Chaz63. Congratulations, Chaz. We'll get you all set up with that money in your account. If you would like to win $20 into the Jock market, I've got 4 remaining. Make sure your username is in the chat and I'll give those out as the evening goes on. But I've waited long enough. Let's reveal the big board for this week's US Open. And it's Jon Rahm. $9.64 already atop the Jock market, essentially asking him to finish 12th or better to return you a profit. Joe, we were talking before our mics went hot. Everybody loves Jon Rahm, but the Jock market really loves Jon Rahm.
He's, I think, consistently been the highest priced guy more than anyone else. I think it's deserving this week. Obviously, he's coming back to a place where he sort of got the maiden victory, sort of a redemption factor coming back from the Memorial, and everything that he does well in his game sets up great. There's a reason that he's sort of the clear and away favorite this week. And then you have the grouping of like the 5 guys that are 6 to 8 points behind him on the odds board. But yeah, Jon Rahm's top 10 odds this week are like even or I believe slightly minus money depending on the book that you look. So just asking him at this price point now to finish 12th or better seems to be like a positive endeavor.
Brooks Koepka right behind, $7.14. His pre-rank is 24th, so he is going to struggle to break a lot of ties with his peers or similarly priced peers, coming off of a very disappointing, by his backer standards, a missed cut at the Palmetto Championship. He went for $12.25 last week. He was the 3rd most expensive golfer we ever saw in the Jock market. He missed the cut. Joe, does that impact his price this evening, or are people going to look at Brooks Koepka, say it's a U.S. Open, and I'm bidding on this guy?
I think most people are going to just overlook last week and just bid on him because it's the U.S. Open and it's Brooks. It's a major. He's proven and he's earned that sort of moniker at this point. We just saw him do the exact same thing 30 days ago when he missed the cut and looked kind of like shit at the Byron Nelson, and then came in the final group on Sunday at the PGA Championship. So I'd expect nothing less. Last week doesn't concern me. What does kind of concern me is that staircase that he was moving up today. He looked a little rocky, he looked a little sore there, but who knows, maybe just a bad angle, but it's a major. I'm Team Brooks all the way. I'll be playing him. I've got a high target price on him. So as long as he's under that, I'll be in.
Luckily, there are no stairs out on the golf course for Brooks Koepka to have to try to navigate. If you are trying to Get Brooks Koepka this week. You will be competing with Joe. We have about 30 minutes or so until this IPO phase closes, so keep a close eye. Add Brooks to your favorites list and pay attention as the evening goes on. A little bit of a surprise here from Louis, $6.82, but sometimes we see this, Joe. Sometimes we see a guy early in the evening kind of jump up a little bit. I certainly don't expect Louis to continue on this trajectory all evening because he'd end up being one of the highest priced golfers, but he'll probably settle somewhere in the mid sevens, I would assume. We're just getting an early start on Louis.
Yeah, I think people got an early start on him. Like you said, good U.S. Open sort of history behind him. Playing really well, right? Doesn't play that often, but when he does, he seems to be finishing well. So, at that $8 and say like 80-cent price point, right now or at $6.80. You're asking him to finish 21st or better. He's kind of done that in most of his recent starts, so that's not a huge leap for him. I would expect it to not go up too much from there, and we see a lot of these guys like DJ and Bryson and Rory, and these guys sort of make up some ground here over the next 30 minutes or so.
Well, you said his name and you moved him up to $9. Bryson DeChambeau about 5 minutes ago was $1.75. We knew that wasn't going to last, but he's jumped up to $9. Now him and Jon Rahm are the two golfers above that mark. If you are an investor of Bryson DeChambeau at $9, you're asking him to finish 14th or better. I think that Bryson is certainly going to be one of the most expensive golfers as this evening closes because of what he's done at U.S. Opens. We know his ability to extract himself from very thick rough is a very valuable asset. So here we go. Bryson making his move up the board.
Here we go. He told us exactly that his strategy is not going to change from Winged Foot last year, nor should it, right? I mean, he set himself up and created this body and this new player over the last 2 years. It's basically tailor-made to go out and take down U.S. Open. So I have him ranked as the second rated player on my board. Shocked to see him go up that many dollars that quickly, but someone obviously has a liking for Bryson this week and took a big chunk out of a lot of shares.
This is somewhat breaking news, nothing too crazy, but the sentiment on Xander Schauffele seems to be increasing significantly. I'm not going to name the sports book because I'm not going to give away a free ad, but there is a sports book out there that just moved Schauffele from 20-1 to 12-1. He is now the clear second favorite on the board behind Jon Rahm. He has moved up to the third most expensive golfer in our IPO here for the Jock market. He's $7.56. Xander Schauffele has never finished worse than sixth in any of his 4 U.S. Opens, and he finally broke through and figured out Torrey Pines in January. Are we headed for just an absolute stunner price on Xander this evening?
Yeah, I can't believe 12-1 is shocking to me. I can't believe it. Yeah, I'm not there on him. He hasn't played well at Torrey in the past. I think that there's more to it if you look beyond the second or third that he just had this week. But the U.S. Open track record is what it is. It's fantastic. But there are guys up here with big-time notches in their belt and have the ability and have shown and proven the ability to hoist trophies in major championship Sundays. I think that he has the ability to, but I'm not going to pay the price for him now as if he'd already done that 2 or 3 times. Let's let him do it first and then sort of give him that credit. I'm not going to crown him just yet. And 12-1, it being below on the odds board, Bryson and Brooks and these guys who are winning U.S. Opens is just wild to me. I can't get there yet.
Speaking of guys who have won U.S. Opens, let me just pick out a couple of notables here. Rory McIlroy, $6.38. He seems to be pretty polarizing. I wouldn't even say polarizing. I feel like he's just been little discussed. And then Dustin Johnson at $6 at the moment. Those are both certainly going to go up, Joe, but I don't think the positive sentiment around these two golfers is nearly as strong as what we're going to see on Rahm, Xander, Bryson, Brooks.
Yeah, you're right. You look at the first 2 majors of the season, and we're kind of in this compact summer of golf right now, right? Where we have a major championship every 30 days. Well, the Masters 60 days ago, DJ was clearing away the favorite heading into that event. Everyone expected him to play well. He was by far had the biggest handle, by far had the lowest price on the odds board. 30 days ago, that was Rory McIlroy, right? Everyone loved Rory. He's coming off a win, going back to Kiowa Island. He's the lowest priced guy on the odds board. Now both of them not too long ago, check in today around 5 or 6 on the board, seemingly a little bit overlooked. And their price point kind of reflects that at this point in the jock market. But I expect them to both go up, but they certainly could present some value here, similarly to how they present some value, I think, on the odds boards or in DraftKings this week.
Filling the gap between the big boys at the top and our U.S. Open champions are Tony Finau, Colin Morikawa, and Patrick Reed. I feel as if I'm probably more bullish on Morikawa than most. That could be wrong. $6.66. If he goes, let's round him up to $7. If he goes at $7 a share, you'd be asking him to finish 22nd or better. I certainly know that Morikawa can do something like that. But Joe, maybe I'm not as worried about his lack of distance as others. Let's check your temperature on Mr. Morikawa.
Okay, so here's the thing. Like, the USGA has the tendency to completely sort of give us what we don't expect in many tournaments, right? In terms of winning formula. Last year, it was all about driving distance. It was hit it as far as you can, get it down there, and blast a pitching wedge out of the rough. That's why we saw Matt Wolff lead in distance. He finished second. We obviously saw what Bryson did. If you think it's going to play that way again this year, that's one sort of side of the coin. But on the other side of the coin, if you think that they're going to change it up a little bit and reward a little bit more fairways and reward approach play more or less than just straight driving distance, then two guys stick out to me, Morikawa and Justin Thomas. I think both present a ton of value. If the way that this thing plays out, where approach play and iron play becomes the key stat and the key metric that leads to good scoring, both of those guys are probably the two best in the game right now.
All right, fingers crossed. I've got quite a few investments on Colin Morikawa. We'll see how that goes for this week. And as we were chatting, we had Jon Rahm snap through the $10 mark. He's the first golfer into the $10 range. It never ceases to amaze me, the positive sentiment on Jon Rahm. Before I jump into some more of this board, remember, put your Jock Market username in the chat. That'll get you entered to win $20 in Jock Bucks. I've got $80 more to give away, and if you are depositing, make sure to use the code POWER. That will get you a $100 deposit bonus up to $50. If we scroll down the board a little bit further, there is Justin Thomas, the man that you just mentioned, $5.50. Patrick Cantlay, who, correct me if I'm wrong, coming off a win. That's right. His last event was Muirfield Village. He won that. He was $7.75 on that week. Will Zalatoris, Hideki Matsuyama, any of these names down here in kind of the 550 and below that is really catching your attention?
Yeah, look, you mentioned Cantlay, right? Obviously coming off the victory, looked great a week ago. Couple that with he probably had the best West Coast swing, I think, of any player this year. So all of those factors lead together. Zalatoris is right there. Tyrrell Hatton played well last week. Vic Hovland is really cheap right now. I actually really like Scotty Scheffler this week as well. If you look at sort of the total driving stat, which essentially combines distance times somewhat of accuracy, he's right up there as well with anyone in the field. And he's played really well in all the major championships he's been a part of. Good finish at the Memorial a couple of weeks ago. So I think I have interest in all of those guys. I think that they all possess the prerequisites to compete at a U.S. Open.
My brain is essentially mush by this time on a Wednesday of a major week. Was it Scotty Scheffler that tested positive before Winged Foot?
Yes.
Right? He did not play. Okay, he did not play at Winged Foot. Right. Okay, he played both.
And he was on track to be very popular that week. Like, I remember a lot of people were mentioning him heading in because he had just played so fantastic at the PGA Championship before that.
Right.
He was the young and up-and-coming name. So, yeah, I think that missed it last time because of the positive COVID test. Maybe a little added motivation. But more than anything, I just think his game sets up really well.
All right, so just going down a little bit further here into the mid-fours, Webb Simpson, Jordan Spieth suspiciously hanging around $4.51. I mean, for a guy who's won this year, he's one of the best players. I think we have to pause and chat about him for a second. I don't know if he's just a little slow to move up the board. I don't necessarily think that this is a great fit for Spieth at Torrey Pines, but $4.51 cannot be anywhere close to what his final price is, right?
It's got to go up, right? I'll tell you right now, I have a target price on him of $8.16. Okay. I think that he's there. It's about double what it is right now. That ranks roughly the 8th guy on the board this week. I'm not hugely high on his winning potential, but he's playing so well and doing it in so many different facets of the game. I find it hard to imagine a scenario in which he doesn't find himself like inside the top 20 this week. I think that I don't know that the winning upside is the same as some of those other guys at the top of the board, but his consistency can't be overlooked. And ultimately, that's very important in this type of format.
I'm trying to keep an eye on the top of the board here and see what the movement is. We did see a bit of movement from a couple of guys. This happens every week, Joe. There's a couple of darlings that seem to be popular across all formats. I would argue those are Shane Lowry and Jason Kokrak this week. Right now, they are $6 even for Lowry and Kokrak at $5.75. Are you on board with the sentiment that everyone else is sharing with these golfers?
No, I think that I'm just going to move away from it. I see the reasons why they're there, but I feel like the popularity and how many times the names have been brought up this week are definitely sort of inflating the price here this week. There's a bunch of guys, and this may not stay that way, but the whole slew of guys right underneath them of Casey, Thomas, Cantlay, Zalatoris, Hideki, who we just saw play really well at the Masters, who seemingly like Hideki's one of those guys that doesn't really ever get credit when he's like playing really well. He's always priced the exact same way on the odds boards as if he won the Masters or he didn't win the Masters. He's still like coming in at the same number. And he's great in this sort of format as well, sitting there at $5.
Okay, I'm going to refresh the board, make sure I'm all up to date. But while I do that, I do want to give away $20 to the Jock Market. If you would like to enter a draw to win $20, of course, make sure that your username is in the chat. But our most recent winner is Paul Peppers, who I want to note, his profile pic is Peppers, which I think is very on brand for Paul. I like this. Very good. Congrats on your $20. You can go buy some peppers with it. Well done.
Yeah, peppers aren't cheap, man, especially if you get the trio, red, white, and green, or red, yellow, and green. They're expensive.
That's right, man. You got to get the trio for Mr. Peppers. Congratulations. We will get that into your account in 1 to 100 days. Okay, the board continues to evolve. John Rahm continues to extend another quarter, $10.25. Bryson DeChambeau still hanging there at $9. But let's see if we can find some value in this board because we've probably got 15 to 18 minutes until this IPO phase closes. We've kind of discussed some of the names in the $4 range, the upper fours. Let's go down to the bottom half of the fours. I see a name like Max Homa currently at $4. I see Mark Leishman. He's won at Torrey Pines before. I see Daniel Berger, $4.33. Adam Scott, Gary Woodland. There's a pretty good stretch of golfers down here in the $4.25 and below.
I really like the way Gary Woodland's kind of trending right now. I think that he does possess a lot of those prerequisites like I talked about to compete at a U.S. Open. We saw it in 2019 on the West Coast. Obviously, the distance is there. The iron play out of the thick rough is there. And if he can just have one of those good putting weeks, I think that he'll be right there. So that's a good price on him. But another guy that I kind of wanted to ask you about, I feel like in the betting number this week is really high. This price seems really low for him. How about Adam Scott? He's great here. We know that he kind of mentioned that he only sort of gears himself up for a select few events every year. This has got to be one of them, right?
It certainly is. I am not generally an Adam Scott guy, although I'm finding myself looking for exposure to Adam Scott this week. I don't think at this point in his career, Adam Scott's going to win a birdie fest. He's not going to win something at 20 under par. I just don't think it's going to happen. I want to get him with the winning score much closer to single digits, or in this case, potentially even par. So we have seen Adam Scott, which he doesn't play a lot. I mean, since the restart, he's played like 15 times. He doesn't play all that often. He doesn't miss a lot of cuts, and his better results are on difficult golf courses. We saw him finish 10th here in January. I like Scott. He is not my type of guy, but this week seems to be setting up well for him.
I think so too. We'll see if his price hangs around there.
$4.49 at the moment. Let's go to the second page and see if we can find some real value here. It is not lost on me that Carlos Ortiz played in the final group with Sam Burns and Patrick Reed on Sunday at Torrey Pines in January. I see a name that I have gotten a lot of questions about this week, Joe. His name is Matt Wolff. He is going to be making his first appearance since the Zurich Classic. In theory, If it is a classic USGA setup where club head speed and distance matters, then Matthew Wolff would be the perfect fit, as we saw at Winged Foot. But there are many more questions than answers about the current state of his game.
I know. I actually took a flyer on him to finish top 10 this week. I don't know, man. I love Matt Wolff. I hope that all is right. I've seen so many different stories and speculations, to be honest, on what's going on with him. I think the bottom line is we just don't know. It's great to see him out there. I hope that he plays well this week. I don't think that I'm going to find myself with a lot of shares of him, though.
I think that's fair. I also, about 5 days ago, bet him to finish inside the top 20. I think I got 7.5 to 1. As the week has gone on, I'm not sure I'm feeling much better about that. We shall see how it goes. Garrett Higo, $3.66. Christian Bezuidenhout, a couple of South Africans, also hanging around $3.60. And here's the man going for his career Grand Slam, our most recent major champion, just turned 51. I think today. Yeah, today. Yeah. Okay, it was either today or yesterday. Today, $3.25 for the hellacious seed himself, Phil Mickelson.
Happy birthday, Philip.
Happy birthday, Phil.
Yeah, he's back. Look, I actually have some interest in him. I don't know. Maybe he burned out the candle at the PGA and it's all sort of, it's all gravy from here on out for the rest of his career. But he plays well out here on the West Coast. This is obviously sort of where he grew up. He's played Torrey a bunch. He said in his presser that he has a very precise plan this week. Now, whether he can execute on that, which was what we've seen for Phil or not for 72 holes, is always the big if. But I feel there's more reasons I feel like to be positive on Phil this week than there is to be negative, and that's certainly an attractive price in the low $3 range coming off a major championship.
What's the saying? Everybody has a plan until you get punched in the face. That's kind of the way I feel about Phil Mickelson. But hey, he did not get punched in the face at Kiawah Island. Played beautifully. Going back down, even now, sub $3. There are a couple of interesting high upside names here. Siwoo Kim, $2.85, coming off a top 10, I believe. That's right. A T9 at the Memorial. Ian Poulter, believe it or not, has been playing much better as of late. A 25th at Palmetto Championship, a third place finish at the Charles Schwab Challenge. Who else is here? Oh boy. Cam Young. Cam Young's won twice on the Korn Ferry recently. Any interest in some of these penny stocks?
Yeah, there's some long hitters down here. And anytime that I think you show up to a U.S. Open, I think that if that is your biggest skill set, you can always come out and pop. So guys like Cameron Young, who hits it a ton, guys like Patrick Rogers, who has a decent history at Torrey Pines, who played really well in the U.S. Open qualifier down here, who played really well last week, except for a terrible Sunday where he ended up finishing 50th. Even Cameron Champ, like we see Cameron Champ randomly pop. We've seen him play pretty well at major championships in the past, namely the Masters. So, these are type of guys that I think have the dominant skill set in the driving distance that if other things start to go their way, they can find themselves at like a top 20, top 30 position this week if things go right.
If you are just joining us, we probably have about 10 minutes remaining in this IPO. As we get closer, we are going to let Joe go do his thing. He's going to bid on golfers. He's going to essentially play for the final couple of minutes, and then we are going to recap what his portfolio is. We're not quite there yet, and I've given away $40 to the Jock Market. I've got 60 left to give out. I'll give out another here in just a few minutes. Then we'll do it after IPO closes. Then we'll do it at the end of the show. So make sure that your Jock Market username is in the chat. And of course, if you have not deposited yet, go ahead and use the code POWER. That will get you up to a $50 deposit bonus. John Rahm continues to extend. Not much here, Joe, but 9 more cents for Mr. Rahm. He's $10.34, essentially asking him to finish 11th or better. You mentioned he might be a small favorite, even money, something like that, to finish inside the top 10 at your favorite book. And the largest jump I think we've seen in the last few minutes is Justin Thomas, $8.01. I was not expecting that. Here we are. JT, 801.
Me neither, because usually this, like, we find that the Jock Market sort of popularity and price points reflect kind of what we've seen. I've felt like all has been very calm on the Justin Thomas front this week, but there's plenty of reasons to like him. He wins at a clip I've mentioned many times that have been better than anyone else on the PGA Tour over the last 5 years. So anytime he pegs the turf, he's got a chance, and a good one.
Jordan Spieth has been climbing a bit. He's now $6. He is the 8th pre-ranked golfer, which means he's going to break ties for everybody but the 7 guys ahead of him. Who have we not talked about? So how about this? I've not heard even much this week about Viktor Hovland. He is currently $6.89. He's the 4th pre-ranked golfer. That is plenty of value in itself. We know that he is prolific at making cuts. He finishes inside the top 10, top 15 quite often. Why is nobody talking about Vic?
I don't know. I was kind of hoping we didn't talk about him until after 9 o'clock. No, it's all good. Look, Vic, awesome, right? Hits it long, hits it straight, has all the tools here, I think, to succeed. It just comes down to basically whether or not you think that he has the ability to break through on the big stage like this at a major championship, because he hasn't really shown that as of yet. But right now that price sits well under sort of my target for him, and he's one of the guys on my short list heading into the last couple minutes here.
Well, there you go. I just spoiled Joe's evening, so now everybody can bid up Viktor Hovland for Joe. Thank you very much. Here, let me give away $20 more to the Jock Market, this time going out to Duh Oracle. Duh Oracle 1, congratulations. We'll get you set up. I've got $40 more to give away. I'll give away one after IPO closes, about 9 minutes or so, and then one at the end of the show before we get out of here this evening. But things are heating up, Joe. I'm going to give the big board a refresh. We're a couple minutes away from letting you go do your thing. So when you have a field this deep, so many great players, a lot of the big names at the top coming in great form, how are you even beginning to narrow it down for your portfolio this week?
Yeah, I think it's tough. I think a lot of those guys at the top there, where one strategy may be to take them, because if Rahm wins, even at $10 and whatever 25 cents, it's still 2.5x on your money. I'm more so, I think, going to focus on like this range sub $8 ish, and just try to get guys there who I feel like have the upside to win the tournament. Find a couple down low who I think can finish inside maybe the top 25 this week. But you mentioned it. Such a deep field. All the big names are here. This thing could play out a lot of different directions. We've seen U.S. Opens be very volatile in the past, with big names just missing the cut and not even making the weekend because it plays so difficult. And there's triple bogeys lurking out there. So it'll be interesting to see kind of how things shake out.
Certainly interesting to see. And Jon Rahm continues to go. There's another 70 cents or so. He's now up to $11. If you are a buyer of Jon Rahm at $11, you are asking him to finish 9th or better to return you cash. Not much movement in Bryson DeChambeau. I feel like he's been stuck at $9 for a while. I feel like Xander Schauffele's been stuck at $8.25 for a while. We did see Colin Morikawa go from $6.66 to $7.55. So he is on the move. DJ on the move. Rory slightly moving up, but I'm not seeing, I mean, I guess at this point, the most surprising would be Matsuyama. Still hanging at 566. This guy's our Masters champ, elite ball striker. What's the problem?
Spieth like sub $7 too is a little bit shocking as well. So I guess people just aren't big on Spieth, or maybe they just don't think he's long enough to compete here. Maybe the candle has burned out for him and some of the magic beans have expired. But yeah, look, we'll see where the price kind of ends up. It could be one of those situations where people are just have him on the radar for this last 5 minutes to bid it up quickly.
Yeah, there's kind of a couple ways this shakes out. Someone jumps out early and stays at that number all evening, or one of these studs with 3 minutes to go gets bid up by $5. Or if you're just Jon Rahm, every time I click refresh, you're 50 cents more expensive because everybody loves you. Those are the three ways the jock market plays out.
Rahm's in his own sort of world on the jock market. There's no doubt.
There's no doubt about it. I'm going to give this a little extra refresh here because I want to make sure I am up to date, because this is likely going to be a very spicy few minutes here, Joe. So we are probably 3 or 4 minutes out. So this is about that time we say goodbye to you. Or not goodbye. We say see you later as you go and do your thing. Generally, when you come back, you've got 5 to 7 golfers within your portfolio. Is that the general amount that we were looking for this evening?
Yeah, that's usually sort of my go-to. I try to stick to 5 to 7. That way I don't sort of overexpose myself, and then it gives me a little bit of room to play throughout the rest of the event.
All right, let me do this. I'm going to change the banner just so everybody knows this IPO phase usually closes between 8:57, 8:59, somewhere in there. Joe, go do your thing. Good luck. We will catch up with you in just a few minutes. I'm going to take us the rest of the way here in the IPO, and we're going to try to track this down and see what is going on. So I'm giving the big board a refresh, so I'm up to date, and I will reveal it is still John Rahm at $11. He is the number one pre-ranked golfer. That means he is going to break ties with every single golfer in this field. The last time we saw him, he was 6 shots clear through 3 rounds at Muirfield Village. Of course, did not have the opportunity to finish that event, and of course, he has won at Torrey Pines before. Bryson DeChambeau right behind. Our reigning U.S. Open champion, $9. If you're a buyer of Bryson DeChambeau at $9, you were asking him to finish 14th or better to break you even and make you money. Xander Schauffele, 8.25. He's been stuck on that number for quite some time. He jumped up very early in this evening and has not moved essentially since. Brooks Koepka at $8.10 right behind. Maybe the biggest surprise is what people are doing with DJ, just hanging in at $8. If you think DJ is going to finish 18th or better, you should probably be buying him up at $8 or a little bit more. Obviously, already won U.S. Open title on his mantle. Colin Morikawa, Victor Hovland hanging in the mid 750s with Patrick Reed, who was our most recent winner at Torrey Pines. He won this event back in January, of course, not without a little bit of controversy. He is $7.50. Rory McIlroy, I think this is currently my biggest surprise. Rory McIlroy, $7.17. He had commented yesterday, the game feels good. The game feels sharp. Technically, everything is good. He just has to take what he is doing at the range and translate it to the golf course in U.S. Open conditions. Don't we all, Rory? That is certainly my problem as well. We are, by my clock, 8:56. Which means you've got about a minute or so until we're in that time period, which is a 90-second window in which the IPO phase can close at any moment. Sometimes it's an early close. It closes at 8:57. Sometimes it closes at 8:59. And if it closes early, sometimes you are left holding the bag with no bids and no shares. And if it closes late, sometimes you empty the account. So we'll see what happens this evening. But John Rahm and Bryson DeChambeau and Xander Schauffele and Brooks Koepka have not moved since my last refresh. So either everyone is hanging tight or that is where they're going to finish this evening. By my clock, I have 8:57. So we are in that time frame. At any moment, this IPO phase can close. If we go a little bit further down the board, Jordan Spieth still hanging at $6.57. Webb Simpson, even $6. He's won a U.S. Open before. Sam Burns played in that final group with Carlos Ortiz and Patrick Reed in January, $5.90. Matt Fitzpatrick, who seemingly finishes inside the top 10 at every difficult golf course on the planet and finished 10th last week, $5.55. If you translate that to a final finishing position, 31st or better for Matt Fitzpatrick. This is a very critical time in the jock market because this could close at any moment. I want to make sure I have the most up-to-date numbers. So I'm going to give this a refresh here on the big board. This might be the last refresh before our IPO phase closes. And if it is, there hasn't been much movement. John Rahm, $11 even still. Bryson DeChambeau, $9 even. $2 gap between those two golfers. Xander is on the move, $8.88. Dustin Johnson is on the move, $8.50. Brooks Koepka ticking up.
That's a wrap.
That was quick.
That was kind of quick, yeah.
Wow. IPO is closed. Shut it down. Change the light. I'll change the banner. The IPO is closed.
Right. That was quick. That felt very fast. I wasn't quite prepared for that, but I think what it does whenever you do get the early IPO close, like you feel like you get some good prices because, right, you don't get that extra 90 seconds, extra minute or whatever where that thing keeps ticking up. So the guys that you do settle upon, if you end up closing some of those and they move over to your holdings, you feel like you maybe got a little bit of extra value in them, a couple of cents here or there. We go a long way.
All right, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to give the big board just a second to make sure I have all the final numbers. We're going to ask Joe for his shares, but in like 30 seconds, I'm going to give away $20 more to the jock market. So if you do not have your username in the chat yet, make sure that you go and do that. I am reloading the big board. Let me just make sure I have the most up-to-date numbers here, Joe. And I will also give away $20 to Tim, Rock TK, congrats, $20 coming your way. I've got 20 more to give away. I will do that before the end of the show. And let's see, Joe. Yeah, as expected, John Rahm, most expensive golfer, $11. So asking him to finish inside the top 10, 10th or better. He didn't really move in that final stretch there.
Yeah, so kind of surprising that he's the only guy to finish above $10. Usually we see a couple of guys up there, but I think it speaks to kind of the overall depth of this field.
The gap between him and Bryson, $2, is almost reflective of the gap that we've kind of seen on the odds board all week long, right? I mean, John Rahm was the clear favorite. So I guess sentiment matched that. Xander, I guess to no one's surprise, the third most expensive golfer. He was flying up the board. People are loving him. If he missed the cut this week, it will be devastating for a lot of people.
I know. We may finally get some fair numbers on Xander if he misses the cut this week. Everyone will be off.
I'm trying to see what the biggest... Okay, Rory made a little bit of a move, 788. He's the same as Colin Morikawa. Where did Spieth finish?
I think Spieth's 777, like down there, sub a lot of the guys that he's priced well lower than on the odds board is the biggest surprise for me. Like him being below Hovland, Morikawa, Rory, JT, like he's priced generally above all these guys. So that's the one that initially kind of sticks out to me. And then Hideki, like Hideki going lower than Jason Kokrak is a crime here.
Yeah, that's probably right. All right, Joe, we'll come back to that big board. Let's hear your shares for this evening.
Sure.
Here's your shares from last week, by the way, that are still. Here's what you had last week. We're gonna have a completely different set of names here. These scrubs that we had to go with last week, although it is the Doc market and Doc paid off well for you last week. But I think we're gonna hear some more popular names this week.
Those guys didn't do too bad. Kevin Chappell up there too had a nice
it's pretty good.
Uline finished strong, so yeah, didn't do too bad last week. But here's who I got this week. Definitely a different set of names here. Starting with Rory McIlroy. 788. Like it was a good price on Rory. Scooped up 20 shares of him. Moving down, I was one of the people at 655 that did get some shares of Hideki. Wasn't scared of that price one bit. Just below him, 625. I got Scotty Scheffler. I've been kind of high on Scotty this week. I bet Scotty, so I'm going to keep it rolling with him here. In the $4 range, right in the smack dab in the middle at $4.50, I scooped up some shares of Gary Woodland. Moving down to the $3 range, I got two guys here. Phil, I took Phil.
Phil,
and
happy
Bubba,
birthday, Phil.
Bubba, right? Like nobody's really talking about Bubba. He usually struggles in a U.S. Open, but he's played really well in the West Coast. If you're going to use sort of Riviera as a comp course, why not? It's a cheap price, $3.60. There's not much really losing downside there, but I feel like he could pop in top 20 this week. And then sort of my penny stock of the week, Mr. Guido Migliozzi, $2.05.
Okay, $2.05. So really your downside is $1.05 a share. And if he finishes, I mean, if he makes the cut,
50,
right?
I think. Yeah, if he makes the cut, basically, I'm good. Yeah.
All right, there you go. So here is Joe's portfolio: Rory McIlroy, Hideki, Scotty, Gary Woodland, Phil, Bubba, and Guido, rounding out Joe's portfolio. I like this. This is good. I think Rory, if he's ever going to win a U.S. Open, it's this one.
It seems like Rory, it's just weird that he's kind of this enigma where when the expectations are there, and this has been throughout his career seemingly, when the expectations are all there, he kind of lets us down in a lot of ways, like particularly when they went and played the Open Championship at his home course growing up, and he missed the cut there, and then the situation at Kiowa, this has kind of been his MO, and then the moment that we sort of forget that Rory McIlroy exists and is maybe the most talented player on the planet, he shows up and reminds us. So we'll see what we get from him this week.
This, I think, is a really good strategy. After Rory shoots 73 in round one, buy on the panic buyers. That's right. I mean, he has, as long as he doesn't play himself out of this on Thursday, tomorrow, he's probably in it. He has proven that. He has struggled in the first round. He struggled on literally the first hole at his last 9 major championships. He's playing them 8 over par. It's unbelievable stuff. So, hey, this is the place that Tiger bogeyed number one double bogeyed number one 3 times in 2008.
That's right. Yeah. If you're Rory tomorrow, just like, how about like 5 iron, 6 iron, and just get on the green and 2 and par? Like, I don't need the big giant miss off the opening tee shot to get me rattled with an opening double.
And he is going off of 1 at, I think, like 130 or something like that. So it should be good. Okay. So if you're new, that was the IPO. The IPO is now closed. Shares have been allocated, and now you are free to start trading these golfers. You can make buys, you can make sales, and also keep in mind that there is the new promo this week, and I want to make sure that I have all of the information handy here. So this is maybe if I check my other email. Essentially, it is a trading bonus, Joe. So if you make a trade, a buy or a sell for over $10, you are going to get 5 raffle tickets. You can do that up to 5 times. And at the end of the week, 5 people will be picked to win $100. So an incentive to trade, an incentive to go out there and make some moves.
Yeah, it's cool. They're giving away $500. I assume that they're going to tweet out the names of those winners. So we'll keep an eye on their profile page as the week goes on. But yeah, like, the sort of not so secret strategy that I have with sort of in-play trading is pay attention to that cut line. Like, I know our guy Nelson here has been in the chat tonight having some fun in the jock market. He runs the Cut Sweat site. Like, it's an awesome website to sort of monitor where that cut line is. But this stuff is huge for the jock market because you can find a guy. Sometimes people just assume that he's going to miss the cut with 3 or 4 holes to go and are willing to just basically cut bait on their shares for a ridiculously cheap price. And maybe he just finishes level par the rest of the way in, but you can kind of forecast that cut line is going from +1 to +2 to +3. We usually see an over par cut in the US Open. I expect nothing different this year. And once he gets through that cut line, if you can get in on someone at $2 or $3 a share, the upside is just all there throughout the rest of the way. So if they can climb themselves into the top 40 or top 30, there's a lot of room to sort of make some money in play.
Yeah, Nelson's Cut Sweat site is an invaluable tool for fantasy purposes, certainly, and trying to determine how that impacts everybody else, because it's the same as ownership. It's kind of sentiment of guys that might be looking to cut bait on a popular golfer and get something back before they potentially miss the cut, or an opportunity to go out and buy somebody low as the week goes on. So there's a lot of different strategies, and I think you're right. There's, with a US Open, there is a double lurking. There's a triple lurking. A lot of places you're going to see big movements. So I think being able to see what holes that they have left to play, what are the easy holes, what are the difficult holes, or what are the not so, they're all going to be difficult. What are the really difficult holes versus just the difficult holes, and knowing what kind of stretch of golf they have coming up is going to be critical.
Absolutely. Yep. You nailed it head on. Knowing that these stretch of holes, a lot of times, 18, obviously they're going to play it as the shortest par 5 this week. So it could present some birdie opportunities, although it is a tough hole, the only hole in the course really where water can kind of come into play. So, but pay attention to it. Yeah, Nelson getting a video call at 8:57. That is not ideal. Listen, hot tip for you. When the power hour is on, airplane mode, my man.
Or at least do not disturb or something. Yeah. Awesome. Okay. I've got $20 more to give away. That is going to Brian Phillips, B7 Phillips. Congratulations. If you won this evening, Jock Bucks, I will send your usernames over to the Jock Market team and they will credit your account. Hopefully soon, some point in the future. Usually a day or 2 is what we have seen. But Joe, I think that about does it, man. This is going to be an absolutely rocking event. Unfortunately, I hate to put the curse on it, but I feel like there's going to be every time I get ramped up for an event at Torrey Pines, the marine layer rolls in the morning and it gets delayed like an hour. And like I'm up early and I've got like my coffee and I'm ready to rock and roll. And it's like, wait till this burns off. Hopefully that doesn't happen tomorrow. Hopefully we are kicked off right at like 6:45 Pacific.
I hope so, man. It's tough for me out here on the East Coast. I'm spoiled and getting used to waking up to like morning golf with your coffee, but there's nothing better than prime time major championship golf when you can sit down after dinner and the leaders are still just now making the turn. So great stuff. Couldn't be more excited for this week. A ton of fun. Thank you guys all for joining us in here. It seems like we're getting more and more people every week into the app, into the Power Hour. So we appreciate you. Yeah. Can't wait, buddy.
Use the code POWER if you have not deposited yet. Make those trades. Get yourself into a draw for the trading bonus. And, of course, join us same time, same place next week. That's Joe Idoni. You can find him on Twitter at TorPicks. You can find me at RickRunGood. This has been your Jock Market Power Hour. See you next week.